Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. This is Freshly Pressed. We're looking at the news stories and making the headlines across the country. And as always, would love to get your thoughts, so please share them with us. You can do that via WhatsApp. The number is 0809 440 And you can also tweet at Smooth981. We're streaming live on YouTube as well, so you can catch that live stream up on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981. And you can even post a comment on there as well. The good news is the analysts are in. Good morning, our analysts this morning, Devoe and Lakunle. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, everywhere in the world where you're hearing us this morning. And I don't see red in the studio this morning.
My lips have some red, Lakunle. I'm going with that. That is the Valentine's spirit that we need. All right. So,
Good morning, world. Good morning, Smooth team. Eku hunger, Eku dollar.
all right, let's go on to our first headline. And this one is coming from Punch. FG unveils Pulaku initiative to end farmer herder clashes. Devo?
Yes. Now the Pulanku, okay, is a Fulani terminology. It's like a code of conduct for a code of conduct system, which the Vice President Shatima was unveiling yesterday as what I call it emergency attempts by the federal government to resolve some of the farmer herder crisis that has dogged the North. And when I say the North, and even seeped into the South for almost 2 decades now. And in his words, claiming over 60,000 lives. Um, and for some, they would like to add the number of cattle that have also been slaughtered and also stolen. Now, the vice president was saying that the Pulaku initiative, um, and explaining what it was, basically, it's a form of settlement. And he said that these measures were being taken to address uh, the level of insecurity, which in this case they have said that has been characterized by this banditry, cattle rustling, insurgency, which we see going on up north, especially with farmers, and which obviously, apart from the insecurity, we know that that is one of the fundamental reasons driving our food debacle or food insecurity, why the nation now is facing high inflation prices naturally because already we were already high on importation of food because we were not producing enough. But even the small that we were producing, we're not even getting that because of insecurity. Now, um, the the he tried his best to kind of explain how this would work. Now, let me explain so that people understand. You know, most times, if you go down the history of cattle rearing, because it is a private business, back in the day, there was this, I wouldn't call it code of conduct, but it was this informal um, uh, mechanism that if, because then the herders had uh, well-known grazing routes. Okay, those were the ones that Buhari spoke to back in the day when Nigeria wasn't as developed. Right now, within those grazing routes, which were basically grazing routes not just for Nigerian herdsmen, but even herdsmen coming from West Africa, Central Africa, into the country and out of the country. If cattle ever grazed inside someone's farm, what would happen is that if there's an alarm, that farmer would inform the head herdsman, who would then, um, through the chieftaincy, they had some kind of uh, governance at that time, would pay back what the cattle had grazed, okay, in terms of cash. And in some cases, if you mistakenly killed the cattle, you would also pay back in terms of, oh, sorry, we didn't know it was yours. And it created some kind of informal peace and balance in the system. Okay. Now, the truth is, this was not legal, or neither was it law, but it was just the natural form of justice that was working for them in those days. Now, come with development into the 1990s, 2010s, and 20s, what you see is that many of those grazing routes that were unofficial have been covered by either farms or even people have perimetered them. So obviously the cattle can't pass through. Now, that's another question another day, that why do you believe that grazing route is your land? But because of that, that has led to this constant battle over land, over routes, over. I remember at some time the governors were talking about anti-open grazing, or where they could graze. Those battles have been on. Now, my only issue is that yes, the federal government is trying to stem the problem, but I think um, for there to be justice and for there to be peace, I think the federal government needs to evolve its thinking. And when I say thinking, you cannot use old, archaic ways to resolve modern day problems. You're not going to go back to when those cows could have those unofficial grazing routes. That's never going to happen again. And and the truth is, because it's a fundamental business, just like oil and gas, just like fintech, just like banking, just like those who are into trading. If the federal government wants to support them, I think the federal government needs to think a bit larger, get modern, and create areas. And when I say create areas, that is intervention areas. I think some of them were spoken even by the Kano State governor at that time, Ganduje, that let's turn Kano State, because it's a savanna land, let's turn Kano State into one big ranch. Okay. Now, at the state level, you create opportunities for the cattle rearing business to pay for or get it by way of subvention by that state, and then maybe the profit that comes from the cattle, the state shares it. I think we can evolve our methods so that at the end of the day, everybody gains, nobody loses. It is of mutual benefit, not only to the government, and to the states, but to the residents and to the safety of our farmers. Remember, herdsmen are also farmers. They're just farmers in livestock, while those who grow the crops are just crop farmers. So there must be a symbiotic relationship that the federal government needs to evolve into. I believe that more open round tables are required for this, because I can tell you up front, archaic ways, archaic methodologies is not going to work in the 21st century.
All right. Thank you for that, Devoe. Let's move on to The Guardian. The federal government considers commodity board to crash food prices as core ultimatum ends. Lakunle?
Right. Right.
So have a big smile just before
you don't mind me. I'm just trying not to be overly enthusiastic or otherwise about it. Now, so we have a history that we've done this before in the past. What did we come out of it? It became an avenue for people to abuse the system. Now, going back to it, has it worked before? It has worked to some extent, but on the larger scale, commodity boards would not solve the problem we have at hand. Commodity boards would work when you overproduce and you have excess to put in the market, and they can help you aggregate and sell locally and internationally. Now, the problem we have now, it's a matter of non-availability. I don't believe that it is the ones that some people are buying up and storing that is causing the inflation of prices of food. I don't believe that the number they are storing is enough to cause that. The basic problem we have not solved. For 2 consecutive years, there were matters of flooding and loss of agricultural produce to flooding. For the whole of most of 2020, there was COVID. Many of the farmers could not get to farm appropriately. We've had these things coming up one way or the other. Add that to the number that we lose daily. Add that to the number of multiple taxations that these people go through when they bring food from wherever into the city centers. Those are the issues that we need to solve first. People have been storing food and hoarding food for ages. It didn't get to this point where we are. I think that where we should focus as a government is how are we turning Niger State? Niger State is about 2.5 size the size of the Netherlands. The Netherlands annually does about 49 billion euro of food exports. Niger State is 2.5 times that. If we do a straight line progression of that, it means that we should be doing something in the region of about 200 million euros from Niger State alone. We're not speaking to that. There's the matter of the security that we have not been able to guarantee our farmers who can go to farm. There's the matter of what are we doing about this cost of transportation that has gone up, of course, because of the recent removal of subsidy from petroleum resources. But we seem to be masters at treating the symptoms of the disease that is worrying us. So what is the cost of this commodity board we are setting up at the federal level to Nigeria? So does that then mean that each of the 37 states will set up commodity boards? And what is the cost to those states? What time frame? What policy are they going? It doesn't exist already. These things are, by the time we are setting up committees, people are getting hungry. The immediate things we can do, what are they? We have said that we want to open strategic grain reserve 2 weeks ago. Has it been done? What volume has come out? Where are the distribution centers? These questions are not being answered. We're still doing we will. When are we going to we have? When are we going to see the results? I think that we are speaking too much to these problems. The people who are supposed to handle these things are comfortable. They can't see the problems that we see at the lower end of the chain. And that is why I think that it is easy to say we will. And when we keep saying we will, in no time, 4 years will be over. And we would not see anything done. I don't have a problem with commodity boards, but I don't think that is the solution to the problem Nigeria has right now. We're going to be controlling prices. Has it ever worked? Even with our oil, we control prices. Name one thing that we have controlled the price in this country that has been beneficial to anybody. I can't easily recall any. So I think we should attack the real problem, which is security to farmers to go to work, have a policy on agriculture to make it work, not the one that people would abrogate to themselves and turn to money-making venture like we are on to. It is us, the people, that cause much of the problem that we're talking about. So it is still same us, the people that are going to be part of that community board, aren't we? So let's think about it that way.
All right, thank you, Lakunle, for that. The WhatsApp number to send your messages to is 0809 444 0981. You can also post a comment on our live stream up on YouTube, Smooth981, or just tweet at Smooth981. The hashtag is freshly pressed 981. From Vanguard, the federal government yesterday declared 3 staff of the CBN wanted for allegedly forging the signature of the former President Muhammadu Buhari to steal $6.2 million in cash from the Apex Bank. Devoe?
Well, before we douse our hearts with these tragedies, let me just wish everyone a happy Valentine's, if there's anything in it for you, because $6.2 million would have made us happy, right? Cheesy, Zibby would have gone to
Next time you
Dubai.
misname me, Devoe,
Yes.
you will be addressed as David or Daniel or Darren
would
or
have gone
Danny.
would have gone to Dubai and then maybe a trip in Tokyo with $6.2 million. Wouldn't that make all of us smile? But you see, here we are talking about how all manner of heist and Italian jobs, if you know that movie, are being carried out uh, on our community of a nation. And the problem here is, in summary, alongside some of the various allegations against the former CBN governor, that's Godwin Emefiele, in this one, this is a new one by the special investigator through the EFCC, that $6.2 million was withdrawn from the CBN on account of a memo from the presidency through the SGF's office that $6.2 million should be released to election observers. Election observers who we know are usually internationally backed. And what I mean internationally backed, election observers are sent into different countries. We do it here in Nigeria. We go to other countries. It's usually paid for by multinational bodies like the World Bank, like the EU, like UNICEF, UNDP, um, to support the electoral system in any country and to observe and not to take sides. That is why the money does not come from that location, so that they are not compromised, influenced. They remain neutral, right? So that's an argument that's already lost. Now, and so that you wouldn't say that they were induced to make their position. Now they're saying that that amount of money was released by the CBN, authorized by uh, the president, that's Buhari. Now, in the same high court, the former SGF comes out to say, hey, first of all, I'm not aware of that memo. Two, the president does not issue um, directives through letters. They come through extract. If you know what an extract is, if you're a bit of corporate governance, once a board meeting is held, there are some you would see it's like this was what happened during the meeting, and we decided that this would happen. That's how it's issued. And he's right on saying that. He's also saying that the stamp on the seal of the president does not come with the reference number. The seal is authorization on its own. It carries full authority. Now, they've said that this, because the EFCC has done a little work here, and they've said that the CBN governor, through the instrumentation of some of the bank controllers, they called their name. What was his name? Uh, he's One Ochim, yeah, Ode Ochem, right? And
Odo.
Odom Ochem, and one other colleague of his who are on who are at large at the moment. They've sent their names to Interpol, because the truth is, when you've gone away with a sweet Valentine gift of 6.2 million US dollars, let's put that in naira, in today's currency, you're talking about 6.2 billion naira. You obviously will run and hide. However, we will wait to see whether the Interpol is able to catch some of these culprits. But you see, the moral of this story, the point of this story is that the media should not get awashed into the drama that goes with law, criminal finding, etc. That's not the point. If there's a case here, prosecute the people, get done with it, and let's keep it moving, because there are many uh, financial heists, financial gymnastics, higi haga, that has taken place all over ministries, departments, and agencies, and even the private sector. I mean, if we go by the level of fantastic corruption that has taken place, we've not even gotten over the ghosts that have been stealing our crude on a daily basis, who, instead of us producing and earning daily desired FX to the tune of 1.8 million barrels a day, we're just getting like 1.1, 1.2, right? So my point is this: I think the economic financial EFCC needs to get their job done properly. Let's move beyond this media trials and prosecute wherever we believe and know and have the right information. Emefiele, you cannot use Emefiele to as a smokescreen. You can't continue just using his case to be the only case. And as long as you toss it out there in the public, everybody goes in with beer and drinks to discuss it and forgets that the real cancer, viruses that's taking place within the National Assembly, taking place within the ministries, departments, and agencies that are crippling Nigeria are happening on a daily basis. We need to wake up.
All right, let's go on to some of the messages coming through. JP says Lakunle is apt. Much more needs to be done. A lot of critical thinking is missing, in my opinion. Commodity board with low agricultural yield, $6.2 million, forged signature of a president and not the class captain, Kai. Dare says, for over 30 years, I've been conscious of herdsmen operations in my state. This unwritten rule has never been put into use. Their herds graze and destroy crops. When farmers complain, they resort to violence. They smashed their cutlass on my grandmother's leg and she couldn't walk for about 6 months. Ajayi Olonilua says the federal government continues to dance to the tune of the cattle breeders by mulling another archaic method of controlling the rearing of cattle instead of embracing the more practical and modern method of ranching. Let's go on to the next headline, and this one comes from Daily Trust. Japa, over 42,000 nurses left Nigeria in 3 years. Lakunle?
Okay, this is a very interesting one. I think that over the weekend, there was a circular from the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria stating some draconian rules about how nurses get their verification and licenses done, that they require them to have worked for 2 years. Then if they are changing jobs, they need a letter from their current employer to satisfy their good standing. For crying out loud, how does it consign a registration board, that kind of whatever? And we understand the spirit of what they were trying to do, but they were going about it the wrong way. That's the background to this story. So the registrar of the council, Mr. Farouk Abubakar, is just explaining, like they say out there. He has no evidence yet, right? So he's trying to justify that the reason for doing that we've lost 42,000 nurses in the last 3 years. At this table, at this program, several times in years past, we have said it in several English terms. Winter is coming, and winter hasn't come yet, right? It's only 43,000 in the last 3 years. In the next 5 years, maybe we're talking about 500,000 of them. How cheap is it to train nurses in Nigeria? If we know it is cheap to train them in Nigeria, what is the plan to retain them? You see, a lot of things that we do a lot of kick and follow, anywhere but left face, like they say in football, right? We just do things. When then something happens, we now start to react to those things. We're not planning. How well paid are the nurses in Nigeria? What job guarantees do they have? What job securities do they have? The council is supposed to be addressing those things, so that the things that will keep these people here, no matter the restrictions you put in place, these people will be pushed to forging certificates very soon. Of course, why I'm not encouraging that, but we'll start hearing of this their verification thing being forged very soon, because people will get desperate. The idea is to frustrate people from leaving Nigeria. The idea of this, their verification that they brought up. And people will, no matter what you do, we are social animals. People will relocate. People will migrate for whatever reason. For job security, for safety, for the fun of it, for lack of any reason at all. If you have the opportunity to, people will move. And it is against the fundamental human rights of anybody to restrict the person from moving anyway. You cannot want to solve one problem and create another problem. And this is what they are done with this thing that they are trying to do. I do not subscribe to this. I hope that all the nurses, all the nursing associations and professional bodies in this country will rise up together and challenge the registration and the council legally to ensure that they stop this thing. Your verification is just your verification is a verification. All I know is that I've paid my practice fees and is a nurse. Why do I need somebody who is not even a member of my profession to be guaranteeing me? Okay, so the chief executive of the hospital where I work as a nurse will probably be a doctor. Why do I need a doctor to be certifying me a nurse? Our jobs are different, aren't they? So if anybody should be able to start to vet me and say that I am good at my job, it should also be a fellow professional person, a nurse. Why do I have a lawyer? Now you have, for example, I should have maybe it is just wrong in every way you can think about it. It is wrong to do morally, ethically, legally. There's nothing right about this thing. And it's just about the same way that we go about okay, let me just stop there right now because I'm getting a bit hyped about it already. So let's end it there now.
All right, let's go on to premium times. Nigerian lawmakers oppose bill to make higher education compulsory for presidential and governorship candidates.
This story actually should cause protests. Not apart from the fact that we're going to cry, literally cry as we
Therefore,
take.
we're not calling for any protest on
Yes,
this program.
as
Thank you.
we read this story. You see, your Nigerian lawmakers, when we told you to open your eyes, that these are the people that hold the change, that restructuring you're looking for. If you don't have proper National Assembly, you will never get the change that you are looking for. In this case, an APC lawmaker, Ononuga, from Ogun State, raised the bill to amend the Constitution 1999 as amended to raise the educational qualification of presidential, gubernatorial, and National Assembly members to a minimum of a bachelor's degree. Okay? Because for a long time, the current Constitution says about having a secondary school certificate, grade 2 teacher certificate, even it says primary school leaving certificate. And for a nation that is in problem, you would wonder that shouldn't that be an easy and natural decision to make? But here you go. You have many other senators in the debate. Kingsley Chinda of PDP Rivers said the Constitution must conform to the realities of the country. Then came Aliu Madaki of NNPP Kano, who said we shouldn't create a society where only the elites get to participate in politics. That even though his children are in university, many people don't have that level of education, and that you can see what the professors did during INEC. Look at the level of debates that they're having. Now you see the problem here. When people feel that having a university or tertiary level education is elitism, it means you are inside a hole, all of you are blind, and you don't want to get out. Now, my problem here is that apart from the National Assembly not being able to get over this, because the truth is, you are not in this state because the point he was trying to make is that good leadership is not a function of education. The only level of education here that is minimum required is bachelor's level. Now, I weep for Nigeria simply because we've allowed blind people, and when I say blind people, misinformed people, not just only misinformed people, people who really don't know the cause and the effect or how to fix the country's issues to be running the country. And now you are trying to amend it. Of course they will oppose it. Of course they'll refuse raising the level of education. Now, so it's no longer about the National Assembly. I'm talking to you Nigerians. If you want a change, you don't need to complain. You need to get up, act, especially when it comes to elections. Even right now, if you can recall, I know it's a tough process, but begin to mount pressure on your legislatives around the nation for this change. That's why I said it calls for some level of protest, because we can't have poorly educated leaders
Again,
in
we're not calling for
place.
protests
Yes,
on this program, therefore.
because when we have poorly elected leaders, what you get is where we are at. And if you don't change it, because they're the ones there currently, this is going to continue. So stop crying for change. Stop thinking about renewed hope when practically the bulk of your leaders are not as educated as they need to be. Now, yes, at the time it was made, back in the 1960s, as amended in 1999, we could even say, right, that was the position at that point. But right now, in the 21st century, as global nations, we must ensure that we put the best people in positions of leadership for that change that we dearly desire.
Lakunle, do you want to add something really quickly? 30 seconds.
Yes. Somehow, at some point, I disagree with Devoe about this thing, right? So, today, how many people in position of governance at all levels don't have a minimum of a bachelor's degree? Right now, let's look at it from the president down to the councillor in all the states. You see, the thing about this thing is that the argument that you recruit some people may not fly, yes, but the point is that it is still about attitude. You don't learn attitude in school. You don't learn that thing you need to make your country good in school. You go and learn these things. It is personal to you that I want to make a difference, right? And it can happen even with the kind of people we have. We've had PhD presidents. We've had general presidents. What difference has it made in our life? So So that's just my own, to the extent to which I disagree, right? But it's okay to what they call, to amend the constitution to reflect, but I don't think that we should over-regulate this naturally sometime in the future.
All right.
This is will just happen.
Okay, let's look at some of the messages we have coming through really quickly. Fabian says the planned action on the nurses is unfortunate and will not augur well. The government should cancel this measure, revamp the health sector, and work on creating a more enabling environment for all healthcare personnel. Dan Okuda says Emefiele's stint at the CBN was a monumental disaster. Every misappropriated naira must be recovered. Lara says interesting. The minimum educational requirement for governors and presidents of Nigeria is similar to that of casual workers. Abbas says bills can be thrown out and we shouldn't use that to call for protest. No one is calling for protest here. Back to the message. We really need to watch what we say. University education doesn't guarantee good governance. We've had a PhD holder as a president, and what did we get? Another message from, let's see, Olalikon. Olalikon says you can't compel everyone to have a bachelor to be an elected representative. It's a global thing to have the high school certification, but the people choose not vote for school certificates holders. And all right, that is all the time that we have this morning. Sorry, I can't take all your messages. We're out of time. Thanks for listening, and special thanks to our analysts, Devoe and Lakunle, for joining us.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Thank you.
Please celebrate carefully and responsibly.
Yes, and invest. Give gifts as investment, financial investments.
For those of you who ate from the 6.2 million, please share.
I don't want that kind of
that's
money.
Share love,
that's
share
the spirit
love,
behind
share
Valentine.
love.
Excluding
President
myself
Zibby,
from
If
that.
you're a beneficiary of the dollars in this country, please share the spirit
President
of Valentine.
Zibby, share love today.
Oh, wow. I'll share it with my words and my gestures. That's it for Freshly Pressed. Stay with us. Locker room starts in about 12 minutes. Stay with us.
Bye.
Bye, Lakunle.